So maybe just to begin, we'll talk about the first show in the season, and how we got there, which is Binding Ties by Stephanie Johnson and with Michael Snyder.
I saw the show 31 years ago at the 16th Street station in Oakland, and I've never forgotten the show since. It's about primarily about how African Americans have found our way to West Oakland through the train. But Stephanie is such a really just brilliant visual artist and visual storyteller of historical artifacts that I mean, I'm just thrilled that I can stop talking about the show and can bring people to it and stop driving past the 16th Street station and saying, I saw this show so many years ago. So I think it's a great place for us to start.
All right, next is The Wasteland. Lisa, do you want to talk a little bit about that show?
Yeah, The Wasteland by T.S. Eliot was written, you guys know, like 100 years ago, on the heels of the Spanish flu. John has adapted it to bring in elements of the past and the present, politically, socially, artistically.
The Wasteland is such a canonical poem that sort of is at the center of Western culture. And this opportunity to really interrogate it, to both celebrate it, but also to turn it around and speak to it and speak against it in certain ways is, I think, really sort of what we should be doing with it and making it an Oakland theater project piece. I think people are going to find it really exciting and somewhat shocking too, especially with Lisa as the poet.
Let's go to the next one. Begin the Beguine by Kathleen Collins, a quartet of one acts. Dawn, do you just want to talk a little bit about this one?
I'm really excited about it because she was one of the first African American filmmakers to produce a film produced by a Black woman and directed by a Black woman. And the movie was dismissed by critics and whatnot, but it seems like the writing was dismissed and swept under the rug. And so finding it and then having her family release it to us is so incredible.
Her plays are really wild and theatrical, but so gentle and kind at the same time. And it just seemed to me that sort of like in our best productions, that is what we are. We are both wild, but also gentle.
Because wild and gentle is perfect. When we edit later, can we just take that out? And let me say it now. Her plays are both wild and gentle, and that's so...
Well, that's so unfair because you say it so much better than I do. I look like...
Season. So the next one is The Dream Life of Malcolm X. William, you want to talk about that piece?
But I think when we first looked at a project like this is such a huge figure. It's kind of daunting to approach something like this. But I think the team, Dawn, John, and I, were kind of looking at the current climate around race and realizing that for me, Malcolm is a big influence. And I don't think that was something that was taught to me in school, at least. It was something I found on my own. And his writings have really been returning to me in this moment. He's been a great guide to ponder through this moment.
And there's so many, William, myself included. I had to wait until I got into college to learn about his words, his actions, and he was almost smeared to lift up Martin Luther King Jr. That dream. And I had to learn myself, go out and seek it, the significance and impact that he had on the community then and that he should still have throughout history. His footprint it's a necessary component for our steps forward.
The next one is The Ghost Quartet by Dave Malloy. William, you want to take that one as well?
We're doing the musical. I'm so excited. We've never done that before. But I think in this year, when we're missing that commune between audience and actors on stage, that music brings, that dance brings. I think a musical really fits the moment. And this musical is about storytelling. It's about how the same stories are cycling through people's over and over and over again. John, I think you also feel really passionately about this show. Is that true?
Yes, it is true. I find it wild and gentle.
Oh.
No, you're right, but I think it's not just a musical. I think Dave Malloy is a genius.
Yeah.
And this work is really, really haunting, but also perfect for us.
Last but certainly not least, St. Joan, Burn, Burn, Burn. Lisa, do you want to talk about that piece?
I'm going to be looking at adolescence, activism through an adolescent lens. But I'm very inspired by this last year's younger generation, and in terms of activism, and so I am super excited.
Hey, you didn't say anything, Michael.
I did not.
Just calling you out on that. I'm just
Here's what I'll say. I'll say that picking a season is always impossible. Picking a season in a pandemic was like something else. And figuring out a season that feels rich and full and dynamic and varied, but also like I think you're going to come into the parking lot and see a fully realized production. And in a weird way, potentially being in your car while watching that production might feel more congruent with our lived experience right now than anything else, I think is incredibly inspiring, actually, in some way, because there's sort of an implicit resistance to being determined by the world and trying to figure out how the human spirit might try and keep seeking and keep reaching. And so that, I think, is kind of the underlying hope of all of these plays.
Well, I was thinking that the key word is impossible. And I think that I saw this, you said it's impossible to pick a season and it's impossible during a pandemic. But I think that is the key to all five of us and the entire company of Oakland Theater Project, is we are all attracted to the impossible.
Hell yes. On that note, come see our season. Subscribe. It's pay what you can. You can find it online, www.oaklandtheaterproject.org, and come hang out with us. We're a fun bunch. All right. Very well. Goodbye.
Bye.